this inevitable showdown between Marjorie Taylor Green and sort of the sharp-elbowed Republicans in the House against Speaker Mike Johnson. Here's a perspective. So let's dive in. Let's talk about it. We'll open up the phone lines for you because here's one House Republican, Mark Molinaro, a Republican from New York, who's talking to John King yesterday on CNN, saying enough is enough with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Green.
Is Marjorie Taylor Green honest and earnest?
Her theater and this constant effort to hold the Congress hostage has to come to an end. I'm going to have no part in it. And a good number of my colleagues, conservative and moderate, believe that enough is enough. It is time to move on and to move past this kind of nonsense.
Nonsense, theater, she's just an attention seeker, she's a disruptor. And of course, here's the problem. Here's a Congressman, Adam Smith. Now, this is a lefty, wacko progressive from Washington State. And he's on record telling CNN that Republican Speaker Mike Johnson is someone we can work with. Uh-oh. Red flag, anyone?
Look, I am not under any illusion as a Democrat that I'm going to love the Republican Speaker of the House. All I ask is for someone that we can work with. And Mike Johnson he's kept the government open. He allowed us to pass the appropriations bill, so that process would go through a normal process. And now he's allowed us to have a vote on this incredibly important supplemental. And I think that, it shows that he is someone we can work with, all right, in a respectable way. So it's not an endorsement of everything that Mike Johnson...
Danger, danger, dive, dive, dive. So you got a goofy lefty in the House saying Mike Johnson is someone we can work with? Well, that's why Marjorie Taylor Green and Thomas Massie says he has to go. They say he has to go because they're real suspicious and real cynical. Is Mike Johnson uniparty? Is he playing footsie with the Democrats under the table? What's going on here? So I'll get the ball rolling. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. Well, because I'm respecting the will of the audience. 65 to 45, you want to talk about this. It is a terrible idea to try to oust the Speaker of the House a few months before this important, essential election. You want to futz around with the House leadership? You do it after the election. We got to get the House, the Senate, and the White House first. And this is self-destructive, and it's narcissistic, and it's wrong. Let's see if you agree. We'll find out. Here we go. 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. Let's dive into the deep end of the pool here, and let's have this conversation. And the reason I don't like it is because we need unity. We need Republicans to be on the same page. We cannot continue this circular firing squad. It's all hands on deck for this country. We better figure that out or we're going to lose America. Section 702 of FISA, which is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, enables the U.S. government to operate large-scale electronic surveillance programs. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, was always against it until he became Speaker. And then he reversed his position. And he has voted for these expanded surveillance capabilities. President Trump, if you want to know where he stands, he, of course, is against this entirely, pointing out it was illegally used against me and many others. They spied on my campaign. He is absolutely right. Listen, I will start by agreeing that I'm enormously disappointed in any Republican who would support Section 702 of FISA. But now is not the time to blow up the House of Representatives. Mike Johnson has a razor-thin majority. We can only afford to lose one vote. This is not the time to fire Mike Johnson. They got rid of Kevin McCarthy. Matt Gaetz led that charge. Now they got Mike Johnson. Everybody seemed okay with him. They feel like he's letting us down. And understand, I get it. I understand it. I'm as frustrated as you are. But I am more concerned about what this chaos in the House months before the election will do to our election chances. We got to be all about winning on November 5th. Now, here we go. 800-655-MIKE. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm right. You agree, disagree? Let's find out. And I know this is an uncomfortable conversation because it's divisive and it's negative at a time when we got to be on board. I mean, look at all the great things that are going on. Here's Trump winning the campaign from a Manhattan courtroom. There's Grandpa Joe babbling about a made-up story about Uncle Boozy and Trump getting cheered in Harlem. So a lot of great things are happening right now. The winds are at our back. We've got momentum. We've got a great opportunity to have a big win on November 5th. Unfortunately, this isn't helping. Trying to oust Mike Johnson now is definitely not helpful. At least that's how I see it. Let's find out where you are. 800-655-MIKE. Tony's in Tampa, Florida. Hi, Tony. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Mike. I agree with you 110%. We don't need this right now. I happen to think Mike Johnson is a great guy. He's a fellow believer. He's a good conservative. But we don't need this. I tell you what, there's one way to end all this, and that is if Trump calls Marjorie Taylor Green and says, knock it off.
Yeah. Well, he could, and she would probably adhere to that, I would think. She's got enormous respect for President Trump. On the merits of FISA itself, though, and I like Mike Johnson as well, but what do you think of his reversal and now supporting Section 702?
Well, you know, you go from being a regular member to the Speaker of the House. There's got to be compromises, Mike, along the way. And it doesn't bother me that a Democrat, a liberal Democrat, says, hey, we can work with this guy.
Yep.
That doesn't bother me at all, really.
Okay, let's see what others say. Glad you called, Tony. Thank you. 800-655-MIKE. James is in Georgia. Hi, James. Welcome. How are you?
Mike, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Look, I'm in Georgia, not in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district.
Right.
I'm involved with the Republican Party. She is a mess in the Republican Party down here. She is involved with purging patriots from the Republican Party of Georgia. That's actually happening. Our chairman of the Republican Party is a rhino who literally has a state job working for Brian Kemp. And they're now purging MAGA people from the state committee. And she's gotten involved with supporting that.
Why? I don't understand. I'm not following. How is she involved in purging patriots from the Georgia Republican ranks?
She's actually supporting the removal of patriots, which will literally there's going to be a vote on May 9th and May 10th to remove MAGA people from the state committee.
Oh wow!
And we have our chairman. Literally, he has a state job appointed and works for Governor Kemp, who is very much a rhino.
But what's her ostensibly? What is her reasoning for doing that?
I'm baffled. I think we're all baffled.
Because there's not a bigger MAGA patriot than Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I don't get it. Maybe she's listening to the wrong people. I don't know.
All right, let's again in the weeds there in some Georgia politics, and if you want to refute what he just said, feel free to call as well. But first time ever hearing of that. 800-655-MIKE. 800-655-6453. Blake in Jacksonville, Florida. How you doing, Blake?
I'm doing well, Mike.
Good.
First of all, I'm on the weed sitting on the side of 95 waiting to talk to you, so thank you for taking my call.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate you very much, Blake.
Yes,
Thanks.
sir. So here's the thing. I look at Marjorie Taylor Greene as an abolitionist in many ways, but an abolitionist with regards to our founding principles. And I think what we see today is we see so many people getting into positions of power, and what happens is they compromise the positions they've stood for. And the reality is that the positions that they stand for are congruent with the Constitution and stand against the left and stand against the attack on our country. So what I'm hoping will happen with this is I'm hoping that our speaker will get the message and get back to defending and advocating for our Constitution and the principles that have created this great country that we have.
Sure. I get the point. It's a very good point, but I also think there's a pragmatism that has got to go into everything we do between now and November the 5th. Pragmatically, is this going to help us or hurt us on November 5th? I mean, listen, Chip Roy has been a very, very passionate defender of the effort to shoot this expanded surveillance crap down. He said, you know, we gotta answer to our constituents why any of us are siding with the intelligence agencies and the deep state and the swamp over the rights and the liberties of the American people. This is the choice before us. I mean, you got to answer that. And Mike Johnson, for his part, he said, when I was a member of the judiciary, I saw all of the abuses of the FBI. There were terrible abuses over and over and over again, he told reporters. And then when I became speaker, I got the confidential briefing from sort of the other perspective on that to understand the necessity of Section 702 of FISA and how important it is for national security. Are you buying that? Are you accepting that? I'm highly cynical and dubious. Count me skeptical. However, ousting him now is a big mistake. Brian's in Sacramento. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
The last straw that broke the camel's back was when Mike Johnson went against his own Republicans, which was he broke a tie vote between Republicans and Democrats and voted to have warrantless surveillance of Americans by rogue FBI. We have to do it, Mike. They're bringing illegals in, giving them Social Security to vote. We don't have a chance.
All right, so
what do you, to be strong.
So what do you say to the argument that trying to oust the speaker and having more chaos and that whole rigmarole of having to try to find somebody else for the job months before the election is going to cause us great harm in our efforts to win on November 5th? What do you say to that, Brian?
Marjorie Taylor Green has a spine. The rest of us need to go to a butcher shop and get a spine.
You didn't answer my question. You're not answering my question. You're giving me a talking point, and I appreciate it. I tend to agree with how you feel about it, but do you care about hurting our election chances?
But do we have a chance with all these illegals being given Social Security numbers to vote? We don't have a chance.
I'm going to try a third and final time. Do you care if it hurts our election chances? Doesn't that matter?
I do. Of course I do care.
Okay.
But I also care for a Speaker of the House to vote with the Democrats. He's not on our side.
Okay. Well, so you get a Speaker that doesn't vote with the Democrats and we lose the election. Would it be worth it?
That's not why we're going to lose the election. We're going to lose the election because of illegal immigrants.
I got you. All right, Brian. Sounds like Brian has got his mind made up. And see, this is the problem. There's a lot of passion and a lot of anger and frustration. And while I understand that frustration, I always get annoyed when people take that frustration and it blinds them to the big picture here. And I think, in a way, Brian is, with all due respect, misguided. The election isn't secondary. It's everything. The election isn't an afterthought. It's everything. Because if we don't win in November, being unified or illegal immigration, believe me, the floodgates will open and we're screwed. So we gotta be smart. And I don't think that, frankly, the reaction, the instinct to side with the effort to oust Mike Johnson is particularly smart.